Right, now once we kind of realise how to find the lowest common denominator of these rational expressions, we now have to add and subtract them. So that means also changing the numerator as well, not just finding the lowest common denominator. I've actually got to calculate this. Right, so what's the lowest common denominator of 4x and 5x? Well, just look at the 4 and the 5. Lowest common denominator of that is 20. Okay, 4 and 5, 20. And the lowest common denominator of just x and x is just the x itself. Okay, again, there's no more than that. There's only one in each, so I'm just picking one. Okay, so there we go. The lowest common denominator is 20x. So, what have I actually done to go from 4x to 20x? How have I changed the denominator? So change the numerator. Looks like I've just multiplied by 5, that's all. So if I do the same to the 9, I'll get 45. Okay, 9 times 5 is 45. Right. How have I gone from 5x to 20x? I've just multiplied by 4. That's all. Do the same to the 2 at the top. That's 8. So the answer is going to be, again, the common denominator is 20x. That is 20. Right. 45 take away 8 is 37. So 37 over 20x. All right. So that is 37 over 20x. Right, on to the next one. Okay, here we go. Here's my two denominators, r and an r minus 1. Now, if you remember from the previous video, all I can really do is just put those two together. Remember, like a common denominator of 3 and 5 is 15, because 3 times 5 is 15. So all I have is this. I've got an r, and I've got an r minus 1. Plus, again, the common denominator is r minus 1. Alright, so that's it. The common denominator is r with an r minus 1. So look, this is very visual. Look at this. It's really just you seeing what's different about the denominator, so do it to the numerator. I went from r to an r with an r minus 1 next to it. So the extra piece on the bottom is that r minus 1. So the 4's already there. The extra piece I put on the top is that r minus 1. Okay? And if you look at that, if those r minus 1's weren't there, in other words I cancelled them, I'd be left with the original 4 over r. But of course we're not cancelling them, they're there. We keep that because that's the lowest common denominator, r with an r minus 1. Right, so that's the new first rational expression. Not 4 over r anymore, they've got r minus 1's next to it. I have gone with the second one. I've gone from r minus 1, and now it's got an extra r. Okay, so there's an extra r on the bottom, so make sure you put an extra r on the top. Okay, so very visual. Right, just look at the difference. It's like spot the difference. What's different about the bottom, make sure the top you do the same too. So, I know I've got r and r minus 1 as my common denominator. Now I've got to sort out the numerator now. So look at this. What's this? 4 times r is 4r, and 4 times the 1 is 4. So that's me just doing the distributive law with the 4. 4 times r, 4 times negative 1, plus, still got this 6r. Okay, remember I'm just working on, I am just working on the numerator. So what was that? 6r. So if I look at this, my final answer, well I can do those two together, can't I? 4r and 6r. So the final answer is going to be 10r minus 4, because I just combined the 4r and the 6r, and I still have the r with an r minus 1 on the bottom. And whether you write that as r squared minus r, I don't think really, wait a minute, that should be 10r, shouldn't it? Doesn't really matter. Okay, so either one of those, it doesn't matter. Alright, so that's the answer there, 10r minus 4 over r with an r minus 1. Or you could write it as r squared minus r if you wanted to do the distributive law, but you don't have to. Okay, that's it.